thank you for joining the Revenue Optimists. We're a space where go-to-market leaders and revenue operations folks can come together to really learn from one another in order to grow their businesses. My name is Dave Nelson, and today I am very fortunate to be joined by Drew Noel, who's the VP of Revenue and Full Go-to-Market at SCS Cloud. And Drew comes to us with over 20 years experience in the market at companies like HashiCorp, Jitterbit, and Mad Kudu. So Drew, thank you so much for joining.
Absolutely, Dave. Great to be here, and longtime fan of your team and what you're doing, and just excited to join the podcast today.
Awesome. Yeah, well, thank you again. And do you mind telling us a little bit more about your background and how you came to be the VP of Revenue and Full Go-to-Market?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you said, come through. Actually, my original background is as an AE and a demand marketer. And so started out really in, a direct revenue role in my very early career right out of college. Also, had some side gigs or passion projects as, a nightclub promoter. Also was in the movie industry for a minute, which, was largely untenable in my opinion. And then, really got into demand marketing, marketing operations, and then expanded that into revenue operations as a whole, and have also had roles in professional services and also customer success directly, as well as managing the operations of those functions. And probably in the most comprehensive direct revenue operations or go-to-market operations capacity when I was at HashiCorp, doing marketing and revenue operations there. And then, advising a ton of companies on everything from territories to scoring to, overall demand generation or demand capture, depending on your viewpoint, and, all of those various go-to-market actions. So that's actually what we did at HashiCorp. Was we created a score that was based on that largely technographic, but also firmographic fit, and then stack rank the accounts, right, based off of that score. Now, how you score, I mean, in our case, like, we did a very simple numerical score so that it was easy to really sort. And then also with that numerical score, we could then take that, divide it based on the ideal number of accounts within segments, right, for any given rep, and then create a budget for the rep. What's really fun there is that if you create that budget in terms of like point values, it's almost like dollars against the market, right? And then you can shop for your accounts. Those accounts then really become your accounts. You're going to go and buy those accounts. They weren't just like given to you. They weren't rotely assigned to you. They weren't, it wasn't like, oh, well, we're going to give you these accounts because we think you can sell them. On a first come, first serve basis, right, in terms of within segments given priority, right, from strategic on down, the reps come in, they purchase their accounts, they use their budgets in order to acquire those accounts, and then they really own those accounts.
That's fascinating, by the way.
Yeah, please.
This is the first time I've heard of companies doing that, and I love it because now the reps should have real ownership, and then I can't complain. Oh, I got a terrible territory and whatnot.
No.
How do you do it? Is it like a draft, almost like you're drafting a team, or is it so like one person goes and they're using their budget, and the next person gets a shot, or is it you put in your wish list at the beginning and everyone does, and you try and balance that chaos?
So it's a bit of both, because I mean, of course, like, there's always messiness in account assignment, and that's also the human element of, a bit of politics and a bit of, relationships and history within accounts, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the mechanical aspect of it was to basically bring in if you stack rank and you look at the top performing reps within a particular segment, right? Let's say it's strategics. Strategics, they already have like a very small set of accounts anyway, and they're almost always the highest ranked accounts based on that scoring rubric. So what then occurs is they take their budgets, and the highest scoring rep would of course have the top choice, right? So if they've historically performed better than others, they're going to go through, pick their accounts. They still have the same budget, right, as everybody else, but they, are able to pick specifically those accounts that they think they're going to be able to engage with, go after, and create the most value from. That level of ownership, I mean, and I'm speaking to this in terms of like FY like 2020 at this point, right? Because I'm a few years on from HashiCorp, but when we did that, the level of ownership and the level of interest and the level of alignment between marketing and sales, and also sales and CS, becomes pretty brilliant, because you actually have the sales organization understanding why those accounts are ranked the way they are based on the data, and then going through and getting to actually pick what they want to work first off. So running through those, the segment or the tier, right, of accounts, then the stack rank in terms of the top performing reps going first, and going through and actually just having that first choice. And I mean, yes, to some degree, I mean, you're always going to have like a bit of fudge factor that needs to be figured out in terms of geography, right? We're not throwing geography out entirely, but you're going to want to, make sure coverage makes sense. You're going to want to make sure hierarchies make sense, right? Because in terms of the overall structure of especially major enterprise accounts, where there's decentralization, there's, the ability for independent teams to make buying decisions and then roll that up within an account, like that's always a factor. And then finally, after all of the selections are made and people have used their budgets, this was a fun part of it, was that we saw that, maybe a rep that was in a segment further down the list, but maybe they were ambitious and they felt that they had the skill set to go after an account. If those accounts that were traditionally intended or originally intended for a higher segment were left on the table, they could use their budget to potentially purchase one of those accounts and, hit above their weight, right? And, see what they could potentially work. And I think in terms of the correlation and again, the ownership there, you see much higher levels of account engagement, mapping, multi-threading, and really intense go-to-market activity within those accounts because of, again, that level of choice and ownership by the rep.
Fascinating. That's awesome. I like that. I like that they can punch above their weight class and try for accounts and see how it goes.
It really puts the onus on the account team and also sales management to ensure coverage and coordinate with the ABM or ABS team so that they perform that engagement and reach that level of account mapping, account planning, etc. If it doesn't happen, well, is there an SLA violation that could then result in the penalty of reassignment? Which I've never seen anybody do, but I talk about it with people all the time and I get a lot of like eyebrows on it. But I think it's something that's scary to people because, again, the potential drama of saying, well, you gave me that account. Well, yeah, you didn't work it though. Well, that doesn't matter. You still gave it to me. It's in my patch. It's like the traditional idea of a patch being entirely static, I think to that degree is invalid, especially with the way we sell now.